Hello and welcome back to the S&E Ants YouTube channel. Today we're going to go over an update for both of my colonies as of the current moment. In the background you will see footage of the Camponotus Pennsylvanicus colony that I currently own, and later in the video you will see the Camponotus cassinis update and video about them as well. So let's go over a little bit about Pennsylvanicus. I've had quite a bit of people asking information on these ants because they do look very close to Formica. So typically these ants are almost across the entire United States, heavily on the East Coast, pretty much the entire eastern part of the United States, but a majority of it's across the entire United States. Honestly, the rest of the world too. Some places do not have these, but a majority of the world do, and they're considered pests because they eat and bore into. No, they don't eat, but they bore into wood. They nest in wood, so they get in homes, poles, anything made of wood. They'd like to nest in, which brings me to the next point: is their nesting norms. They normally nest in any kind of rotten wood, typically in forests or in trees that have rotted out. That's their typical preferred nest location. This particular colony is about 3 months old at this point. This video footage you see was taken the day of the recording, and they've actually grown quite rapidly, and I'm actually pretty happy about it, being my first Camponotus species I have ever kept. Now we're moving into today's the 1st of September, so I think we have about another month of them being particularly active, and then we're going to start moving into hibernation. And I will post another video on the hibernation steps that we're going to take. I'm going to walk you through what I'm going to do, and different ant keepers and different ant channels do it differently. Some keep them in their basements. Some have colder rooms in their homes. Some people put them in like refrigerators or wine coolers. And the route I'm going to take is more than likely going to be the mini fridge, and I'm going to have a thermometer in them. And again, we'll go over that when all of that comes to light. We'll walk you through on how to do that. So the diet that these ants, or my ants, typically have, I do have nectar from Formica. You can buy it on Amazon. It wasn't expensive, and you don't have to give them a lot, and it lasts about a week and a half. It's a little bitty jar, a little ant feeder that they drink from. It's actually, they love it. I don't have to mess with. I've tried honey. Some ant keepers have great success with honey. The honey I've used so far in both colonies have not yielded any kind of positive results. Either they leave it there and they don't mess with it at all, or they're scared of it and won't drink of it. So I do have a lot of success with the nectar water. Just the nectar. I do have a water feeder on the side too. This is a Tar Heel Ants extra large mini hearth, so it does come with a water feeder in the inner chamber. I do fill that up about once a week, so they do have water, or access to water, and they have the nectar water. As far as protein goes, I do a mix of both crickets and mealworms. The mealworms I do as more a filler than anything. They definitely like and prefer the crickets. I know a lot of keepers do fruit flies. I personally don't like using fruit flies, and it's not because the ants don't like them. It's just they're more of a headache to keep, especially indoors. If you get the flightless fruit flies, they can kind of be a bit of a mess. They tend to give off a little bit of a smell. Crickets and mealworms I don't have that problem with. And crickets I can just usually decapitate one, kill it pretty quick, and then I can put it in the top of the formicarium, and they take it down and eat it, feed it to the young. So I'm gonna stick with that for now. Again, you're watching video of the colony in the background, you can tell that they're all well fed. All of their gasters are pretty full with both protein and the nectar. There's very few ants in this colony that show signs of not eating, and if any, they do trophallaxis and share the food with each other. And again, as you can see, there's plenty of eggs, plenty of larvae piled back there, and a bunch of cocoons and pupa that are slowly emerging. These are a very slow-growing ant species. So I started with this colony with about 10 to 15 workers. So this is not just from the queen going forward. This was a brood boosted colony that started with the queen, about 10 to 15 workers, and maybe a handful of brood. Not nearly as much as we have now in the video, but it was definitely less. But you can clearly see they've grown. She lays at least once a week. She's a very good queen so far, and I've loved watching them and taking care of them. They are very it seems every ant has its own personality almost, even if they're all sisters. You have one or two, like this one in the middle walking around, will be very energetic, very skittish. Will run around, we'll talk to her sisters. And then you have some of these that are very laid back and relaxed and are almost like veterans of the colony. And a majority of those are the majors. They kind of take their time. They don't freak out when the the nest gets disturbed. When the crickets are being fed, they just come up and they, bite their legs off and cut up the cricket and go down. I think they're using the majors as repletes, which typically can kind of happen. You can see on the right here, the two majors that are on the edge of the water tower are full with food, and they'll go around and feed the colony. I typically see them, they do feed the queen every now and then. I've seen in some videos and some posts that majors don't feed queens, and it might be a species to species type thing, but my majors do. They help out with the colony. As you can see, this major right here picking up that little egg, they're great. They're really good at everything they do. So I love having them. Now later in the video, I'm going to show a very young major that had just been come out and just emerged. We will show that clip later. I was actually really excited because it's the first major I've had in their care that I've seen emerge and be cleaned, and we'll talk about her in a little bit. So why I'm so excited for this colony is this is obviously not the first ant species I've ever kept. I've had in the past the Uncle Milton's ant farms with you order the harvester ants online and they would come to your door, but I've never successfully kept a colony with a queen or very long. When I was younger, I would go out and get ants in the yard or fields or whatnot. I had kept a colony of Camponotus rudis before when I was really young. That's a very common ant around where I live. And that was a natural setup with a fish tank, and I actually dug up a colony and kept them for quite a while, but I was so young and naive, I did not do the research I needed to do on how to properly keep an ant colony, and this was years ago when YouTube wasn't very popular. It was very hard to source any type of ant information or ant keeping information, so you're kind of going off of what you thought was best, and that colony had quite I would say at least a couple thousand workers that I dug up. It definitely a queen brood, and I actually kept them outside, again being naive. So the colony did last a while, but eventually they died off. So through the years, again, I just on and off kept ants, but now this is my first successful colony that I've kept and grown into what they are right now. And again, this is my first Camponotus species. So going back and talking about the Alpha gastrorudis species, Phenogaster, excuse me, I did have a colony about 2 years ago that I wanted to get back into ant keeping, and that's what actually brought me back into ant keeping, was getting a colony of these, and obviously everyone's seen Ants Canada's YouTube channel. He actually got me back into ant keeping and watching his videos, and I was really intrigued of being a little older, a little bit more responsible now, of understanding how to correctly keep ants and do my research and see if I could grow my own colony. Now, I guess I didn't do enough research, because later I found out that Aphenogaster rudis species in particular, they do not do trophallaxis. And this makes it very difficult for a newer or getting back into the hobby keeper like myself to keep these ants. I had a lot of trouble feeding them and having the entire colony eat correctly and be correctly fed. So I really struggled with that. And as you can see in the background, these Camponotus do trophallaxis quite a lot. They feed each other. If one's hungry or one needs a particular nectar or protein, they'll share it with each member of the colony. And it really, really helps, especially newer keepers, on, if you put the food in the top or the outworld, one or two or maybe a handful of ants will go out and eat and drink, and then they will bring the food back into the colony, and they can eat and drink and feed the whole colony, versus the Aphenogaster rudis colony I had, each individual member had to eat what they wanted, and it was a very big struggle, because I struggled with mold in the formicarium. I struggled with keeping the formicarium clean. They would always drag what bits of cricket and food I dropped in there into the colony, and they would leave it, because that's how they feed the brood as well. They would drag off the crickets and whatnot to the brood, and the brood feeds on the food directly, and it sits there and molds. So I didn't have a lot of success with that colony, and I actually still have the queen and a handful of workers I'm trying to build back up. The colony did die out quite rapidly and heavily. It went from I would say every bit of a couple hundred workers to I have about 5 to 10 workers now, and just the queen. So I'm trying to build that back up. So this colony in particular, again, is my first successful colony from growing. So definitely going to keep an eye on them and show updates through the year. We are coming into, again, like I said, hibernation. So the videos may slow up once they do go into hibernation. Once that happens, I will start posting tips and tricks for you guys that I've learned through the past 2-3 years that have really helped me understand these ants and how to keep them better. Now, in the background, you will see the clip that I had mentioned earlier about the new major being born, emerged. You can see the discoloration of her exoskeleton as it hardens, and all of our sisters cleaning her and tugging on her and checking on her. It's actually quite interesting, and all the brood that she's on. So I just wanted to share that clip with you guys and show you a new major that is in my Pennsylvanicus colony. I'm actually quite happy. Now, in this clip, you will see my Camponotus cassinis species, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. This is my second colony that I have gotten. I got this colony about a month ago from Tar Heel Ants. I ordered it from him, as well as the formicarium they're in. They are in a fortress formicarium. Now, I got this colony with the queen, a little bit of brood, and I want to say 5 or 6 workers. And if you can see in the background, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So since I've had them in about a month, they've had 1 worker. These are all nanetics. They are very young and very small. She is growing her colony at a steady pace. So these are a little bit more of a slow growing species. They're I don't want to say boring because they're so small and so young, but their colorations are amazing. The queen is so bright. I want to say like a red gold color, and their members, the workers themselves, are very bright in a gold color. And this really is the big difference between my Pennsylvanicus colony and these ants themselves. This is probably, out of the 2 right now, they're definitely my favorites because of the coloration. I'm hoping that these last over hibernation and they survive. I'm definitely doing my due diligence and making sure that they are properly fed, properly taken care of, because I definitely want to see this colony succeed. And again, going back to the Pennsylvanicus colony, you can see that these workers' gasters are, again, filled with food and protein. They do not eat quite as much, obviously because they're smaller and a lot younger colony than my Pennsylvanicus colony, but I usually feed them once a week, if that. They do have their own nectar in the outworld of this formicarium, but they rarely come out. They're very, very shy. And being nanitics, that's a typical thing that they don't like to explore too much. They're very, very timid. The species in general is a very timid species. They're nocturnal, so they more than likely do come out and eat and drink during the night. And I just don't see it. But they're being such a new colony and very young. They're timid, more timid than they normally would be, being a full-size colony. So again, I'm babying them. I'm definitely hoping they survive hibernation, because they're my favorite colony out of the two so far. This species of ant is, again, native to the North America, the United States, Canada. They are not found often in trees. They like to be under rocks and stones, and they like to dig in the dirt. But this formicarium is doing them pretty well. So again, going back to the diet, they're very slow, very steady, I would say, because you can see in the background in the video that she has laid some eggs. They're right underneath her, towards the back, right beside a worker. There's a little clump of eggs, and I'm hoping that they do me well, because I absolutely love them. So 3, 2, 1, play. Now, before we end this video, I definitely want to talk about a couple other things. Now, again, I know this video is not very moving, not very, I don't show a whole lot in these videos, or these clips, excuse me, but I just kind of wanted to give an update on both colonies and show you guys how they're doing, how they're growing. I definitely know a couple of people that were interested in the colonies. Typically on here in Facebook, I post on both. I'm very active in the Tar Heels Ants group. So again, going back to the updates. So I have another queen coming in. She should be here towards the end of the week. I'm going to do a video on her and her introduction to the ant collection. I'm not trying to go over 5 species total. So this being, if she works out, would be my third colony, if she works out. So I have 2 more ant species that I want to start and keep, but that will probably be next season. So again, I will do videos through hibernation on how I'm going to introduce them to that, how I'm going to ease them into the hibernation, and then I will post videos on what I've been doing to have, I would say, 2 successful colonies so far. And then I would do the updates on the queen as well. I do have a new nest coming for her. It's going to be a Tar Heels Ants discus I've ordered from Mac. I'm not a fan of the test tubes. I know a lot of people have a lot of success with them, but the molding issues are a very big problem for me. I don't like going through and having to swap test tubes. I don't like bothering the queen, especially when she's founding her own colony and honestly doesn't want to be bothered. So I know a lot of people say set the test tube in a drawer or a closet and leave it alone. I would love to do that, but I worry so much about the mold, and it can be a problem. So the discus itself is just a little round disc. It's like a petri dish almost, and it's made of the same material that Tar Heels Ants makes all of his formicariums out of. So I think once it comes in, I'm gonna, again, once I show the queen, when she comes in, I'm going to do an unboxing video of the they call it a founding chamber, but it's just a really, really small formicarium for the queen herself, for her to get set up and start her journey on making her colony. It's plenty of room in it to have a couple nanitics, her brood, and then Once they get built up, I will end up moving them into a mini hearth or something like that for them to grow in. But again, I'm just not a fan of the test tubes. And test tubes are very hard to properly heat. If you put them on a heating cable, on one end, you're asking for the queen to move back and forth and asking her to move the brood back and forth. Whereas a discus, I feel like I can just kind of slightly put the heating cable on the side of it, and that heat should radiate in a little bit, and she doesn't have to move as much. And again, some other ant keepers have mentioned that if you can see in the video, this Camponotus queen loves to hang upside down. Apparently, Camponotus loves to be upside down, especially the queens. So my Pennsylvanicus colony is the same way. The queen will sit in the back of the formicarium and kind of hang upside down unless she's walking around and kind of doing her thing. So the discus allows them to grasp the side of the formicarium and kind of gives her that security that she can kind of hang on the sides or whatnot. A test tube setup, they can't do that because it's glass or plastic, and it's very hard for ants to get grip in those. So again, I like not the full natural setups, but as natural as you can be with this type of material versus just I'm not a fan of plastic. Formicarium's completely plastic. I don't feel it's very natural for the ants, and it does, to me, in my opinion, kind of limit how they grow and how fast they can grow versus these that, they're walking around with material, they're hanging up, they can put down their scent trails very efficiently. So again, that's in videos to come for the update on the queen and the new nest. I'll do 2 different videos for that. So I hope you all enjoyed everything and this update on both colonies. If you got any questions or anything, let me know, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hey, S&E Ants here. If you enjoyed this video, check out this recent upload or this recommended video. If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button in the middle of the screen. If you liked what you just watched, please drop a like. It really helps the channel. If you have any other suggestions or ideas, comment down below. Have a good one, and I'll see you next time.